or just wasted.
Today, the Maldives face a different demon to the one in the legend of 800 years ago. This time, it is spawned from differences over the application of an age-old religion in a fast-changing world.
For this edition of 101 East, we've come to Malé, the capital of the Maldives, to speak to several prominent Maldivians about their take on the recent events. The Information Minister, Mohammed Nasheed, says the government is introducing new measures to curb the inflow of what it calls radical Islam into the country. The chairman of the main opposition party, the Maldivian Democratic Party, is also Mohammed Nasheed. He says President Gayoom must shoulder much of the blame for the recent violence. And Umar Nasir is the chairman of the Islamic Democratic Party. He warns that the recent bombing is just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you all for joining us today. Gentlemen, there is a sense of paranoia in the air the world over, and there does seem to be, in the minds of many, a feeling that the Maldives is now being swept up in a tide of increasing religious extremism. Mohammed Nasheed, is that what is going on in the Maldives, or is there a political, a democratic element involved in the incidents of recent months?
Well, I think there is a little bit of both of it. There, of course, is a more radicalization in the sense of a group of people in this country voting to revert back to the fundamentals of Islam. For the last 30 years, this country has been run very ruthlessly by a dictatorship that has many colorings of a theocracy. And they have based their politicking very much upon religion and using Islam as a tool.
Umar Nasir, let me come to you. In your mind, is there not enough Islam in the democracy of the Maldives or in the political structure of the Maldives to satisfy the local religious needs?
There is. There's no doubt about that. But the radicalism that we see at the moment is not being generated in the Maldives. This is a wave that is passing through the world right now. There's a rebirth of religion at the moment throughout the world, not only in Islam, both in Judaism and in Christianity, there's a rebirth. So people go back to the fundamentals. So this is a wave that is going through the world, and we are not going to be spared. This is the effect that we are seeing right now in Maldives.
Minister, so there we have a situation. There is Islam here. By and large, it's been a moderate and peaceful Islamic nation. The injection of radical elements would appear to be causing some problems, and yet the government's reaction is to try and stamp down on any further expression. Are you not taking completely the wrong approach to tackling what's going on?
I don't think the government is going to implement such a harsh attitude or reaction towards this.
But they've already banned the use of the veil entirely. They're coming up with what seem to be some fairly extreme measures.
There are three different types of measures that the government are taking: the long term, the medium term, and the very immediate. One of the immediate things is to eliminate any form of security threats that could be to the peaceful nature of this country. And we have seen evidence to suggest that people have been using the veil to also commit other forms of activities which are criminal in nature.
What is the problem for the government if a particular mosque or a particular island or a particular community wants to practice Islam in their own way? Why is that an issue?
It is a serious threat to the cohesive nature of Islam that we have had in this country for a moderate, liberal view of Islam.
Let me put that to Nasir. Is it a threat to the development of Islam?
It is a threat. What we have to do is we have to have a way of Islam that is practiced throughout the Maldives. We should not have extreme ends. We should not allow people to build their own mosques without a government license. We should control all this. My problem with the present government is that it doesn't have sufficient firmness. It doesn't have sufficient firmness. This is why we are losing. We are losing on drug and crime. We are losing on religious extremism. Corruption is so much like...
So you're advocating, again, more authoritarianism and more strict Islam?
I'm not talking about authoritarianism. What I'm talking about is, if you are a leader and if you are leading a country, you must have sufficient firmness. Napoleon said, when you have sufficient firmness, rashness is not necessary. That's what I'm saying. You have to have sufficient firmness if you are running a government.
This is an intriguing...
But I'm certainly sorry, it's exactly how the Islamic Democratic Party sees things. that more suppression,
And it seems the government.
And the government as well. But government,
I would
perhaps,
say there's a slight difference here.
the government perhaps now, they come out and the government defines their own actions as democracy somewhere there. But the Islamic Democratic Party, of course, doesn't. But we have not seen any country, any society come out of these situations simply by suppression. I can't see how oneness in everything can, get us out of this problem of Islamic fundamentalism. That's really not the solution.
Is not one of the major divisions within the Islamic community the world over, this very point that you're making, is that you have a number of people, all of whom advocate for one and one only interpretation of the book, but none of them can agree which one. Isn't that one of the problems?
We agree. The Maldives do agree. We have been agreeing for the past 400 years.
No, we have
Why
not.
can't we agree right now? I'm
The
not talking about
the
suppression
reason
here.
why people of
Let me
Hindu
clear
wants
this
to
point.
pray in
I think
another
we must-
manner
one at
is
a
a
time,
simple
gentlemen.
manifestation
Please, Minister,
that we do
I
not
think
agree.
we should put it in a different context. Maldives is best served, its interests are best served when it remains a moderate, liberal Muslim nation. And it must engage with the international community. It must have a democratic, transparent environment for everybody to prosper. Anything that is offensive to this, anything that is a threat to this particular setup must be dealt with seriously.
And that's a good place to
That's
take a
where I'm
short break.
talking about
Let me take a
That's
short
where I'm
break.
talking about firmness.
We'll come back in just a couple of minutes with more on the political situation in the Maldives. Do stay with us. We'll be back very shortly.